here on Little Round Top, and I'm going to do a video series called Little Round Top, and we're going to take you to different spots and do a little tour of the area of Little Round Top and talk about its important position. In overview, this is the spot on July 2nd, 1863, where the United States Signal Corps was placed to transfer information about the enemy's position and strength and the ground layout. Governor K. Warren made his way up here and spotted enemy troops coming from the west and notified the overall commander, George Gordon Meade, who placed the 5th Corps of the Army up here just in the nick of time on July 2nd, 1863. This has been Little Round Top, Part 1, an overview on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. Round Top Part 2, and we are here looking at the Signal Station Rock. The Signal Corps in the Army was used primarily for acquiring the information on the lay of the land and the enemy strength and transmitting that information to different Corps headquarters. And during the Battle of Gettysburg here on July 2nd, 1863, the United States Signal Corps was here in this position, and this was actually their station, their Signal Corps station, one of many that were on the Gettysburg Battlefield, and probably overall the best overall view of the Gettysburg Battlefield. It was here where they had spotted Longstreet on his countermarch west of this position here on July 2nd, and of course it was here that they spotted the enemy advancing toward Little Round Top. Of course, there is a famous photograph taken from an angle about right here of this rock in the late 1800s. This has been a spot that many people who have come to Gettysburg have visited but don't understand what it stood for and what it means. Now, the plaque on the rock was dedicated in May of 1919 to honor those men from the U.S. Signal Corps at Gettysburg. There were 36 men performing the duty here at the Battle of Gettysburg. 2 of them were wounded slightly, and this plaque that says Memorial Tablet to the Signal Corps USA, which through valiant and heroic services at Little Round Top, July 2nd through the 4th, 1863, and on many historic battlefields throughout the War of 1861 through 1865, contributed so greatly to the success of the Union Army. This tablet is placed by their surviving comrades in tribute to their memory. This has been Little Round Top Part 2, the Signal Rock on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. Part 3, and we're now looking at the Warren Rock. On the afternoon of July 2nd, 1863, Major General Governor Kemble Warren, who was the chief engineer of the Union Army, was here on the left of the Union line on Little Round Top. He was with the commanding general, George Gordon Meade. Both of these men at that time, seeing that the Union left under Dan Sickles, did not reach all the way to the Round Top, for he had vacated his position, disobeying an order, and brought them out about a half of a mile to the west toward the peach orchard. Now, realizing there was no time to rearrange the position, Sickles and Sickles' line, Meade sent Governor K. Warren to Little Round Top to have a look around. Now, on that afternoon, Warren ascended to the top of Little Round Top and put his eye to the west over here. And it was here that he seen something that frightened him. There were no Union troops here on Little Round Top. And it was being used as a signal station, as we seen in our last video at the Signal Rock. Warren saw the southern line overlapping the Union left, and he quickly sent a message to General George Gordon Meade requesting that at least a division of troops be placed here on Little Round Top in this position. Of course, George Meade directed the 5th Corps to the vicinity of Round Top, and not too long afterward, Hood's division began coming from the Devil's Den and Wheatfield area toward this very position here. Now, the statue to General Warren that sits up here was dedicated in August of 1888. And it's the only boulder on the Gettysburg Battlefield here which has a sign on it that forbids visitors from standing on. And we're going to go around and take a look at that sign now. Usually there's restrictions on standing on monuments and not boulders, but this has a sign here that says visitors forbidden on this rock, see tablet on the front of the rock. So this is the only boulder in Gettysburg that technically you are not allowed to stand on. And it's, of course, the boulder which General Warren himself stood on July 2nd, 1863. This has been the Warren, or the Governor K. Warren Rock, here as a part of our Little Round Top series. This is Little Round Top Part 3 on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. On top, and we are looking at what we call the Balancing Rock, and this is going to be a Little Round Top Part 4. This rock, which has no real historical significance, early visitors who to the Gettysburg Battlefield who were able to climb onto it noticed fairly quickly how the rock tended to rock back and forth, and it seemed like it balanced itself on a boulder underneath. Therefore, the rock got nicknamed the Balancing Rock. And if you climb up over here on this rock and then hop up here and put your feet on and rock back and forth, the rock does tend to move. This has been Little Round Top Part 4, the Balancing Rock, on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. Round Top Part 5 here on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. And also Secrets of the Battlefield. And this is the 1902 foundation for the old guard shack that used to sit here on Little Round Top. Early in the 1900s, right around the turn of the century, the Gettysburg National Park, the new Gettysburg National Park rather, the commissioners of that park required guards to be working around the clock here at the Gettysburg Battlefield. And they were here to prevent injuries to visitors here at the Gettysburg, as well as vandalization of the monuments. And there were several guard shacks placed on the battlefield. There was one at Culp's Hill, there was one here. They were in several locations across the Gettysburg National Military Park. Now, this particular guard shack used to sit just here off of what is today Sykes Avenue, which is up here in the distance. And there is an old photograph of it. The ground was much more level. It now slopes up more due to the modern Sykes Avenue, which was placed here around 1930. But this is something that most visitors to Gettysburg don't see when they come. It's what remains of that guard shack that was built over it. It's just the foundation, and then underneath the leaves are some pieces of wire and piece of the roof that's still here. But to get here, I'm going to walk back up the hill and show you. To get here, if you walk straight up from where the guard shack foundation is, you come up almost directly to the modern day parking area. And again, this ground has been altered and heightened due to the new Sykes Avenue that was built right here. And here's the parking area for Little Round Top. So if you come just to the north side of the parking lot where my car is in the last spot, walk over to this boulder, and then straight down about 20 yards, and you'll come to the old guard shack foundation. This has been Little Round Top Part 5 on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. Roadbed for Sykes Avenue, which was first laid here in 1897. Now, Sykes Avenue today is the modern roadbed that passes by and goes over Little Round Top and the parking area. And of course, to the left here is the sign that says Sykes Avenue. But originally, that roadbed went up around by the 44th New York Castle here, and then wrapped around the face of Round Top over toward the 155th Pennsylvania Monument. That was the original roadbed from 1897. In 1895, the War Department took over. They had a different way of laying roads, and they built the modern day road, which we stand on now. Their different way of building roads was to crush boulders that were here in the area, lay a road bed down, and then pave over it. And of course, when they did that, they obliterated the landscape of Little Round Top, which we talked about in our video with the guard shack, which you should have watched by now. But this is the original roadbed here for Sykes Avenue here on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook, Little Round Top Series Part 6 on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. And we're at the Vincent's Brigade plaque. They were members of the Army of Potomac 5th Corps, 1st Division, 3rd Brigade, under Colonel Strong Vincent, a Pennsylvanian. He found himself here on Little Round Top as a result of Meade and Governor K. Warren's desire to have troops here. Today, this area of the battlefield is called Vincent's Spur, in honor of Colonel Strong Vincent. On July 2nd of 1863, 1,300 men from Vincent's Brigade arrived here on Little Round Top just in the nick of time to save the hill from advancing Confederate troops, which we talked about in an earlier video. The brigade consisted of 4 regiments from different states: the 83rd Pennsylvania from Pennsylvania, the 20th Maine from Maine, the 44th New York from New York, and the 16th Michigan. They had been in that brigade since the Battle of Antietam. The commander of that brigade, Colonel Strong Vincent, was born in 1837. He was a Harvard graduate and lawyer when the Civil War began in 1860. He had no military education, but he was a natural leader. The plaque itself was erected by the War Department just around 1900. And as of all the brigade plaques, it explains the actions of the brigade here at the Battle of Gettysburg on July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, 1863. This has been Little Round Top Part 7 on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. 8, and we're looking at some rebuilt War Department stone walls here on Little Round Top. And these were built before the Civil War. The original walls were built before the Civil War by farmers who farmed the area. Of course, these walls were here during the Battle of Gettysburg, but these are not the original walls that sit here today. The War Department had later rebuilt walls all around the Gettysburg battlefield, including this wall here on Little Round Top. And it was, in fact, became quite a controversial issue when Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain came back to Gettysburg and these walls were several feet high. He thought that was an embarrassment because people would think that his men were well protected behind large stone walls here. So he grumbled about it to enough people, and the walls were taken down. And that was him at an older age in his life showing his pride, saying that, you know, we fought very hard and we didn't have those high walls of protection. However, these walls are in the area that the original walls were in at the Battle of Gettysburg, and actually the pre-war walls that were built here by the farmers. And as you walk here from Vincent Spur over toward the 20th Maine Monument, you'll see the rebuilt War Department stone walls which are also located at other areas on the battlefield. This has been Little Round Top Part 8 on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. On Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook, as you walk from Vincent Spur toward the 20th Maine Monument, which you can see in the distance here, you'll see a paved road to the left. And I touched on this video earlier this year in 2013 as a part of my video called the 20th Maine, which later I turned into actually the 20th Maine Part 2. And I touched on historical significance of this avenue here called Chamberlain Avenue. However, since then, and for the 150th anniversary, the National Park Service went and paved this road. So we're going to re-walk it again here today and talk a little bit about it. We're here on one of the avenues that was built, removed, and now rebuilt again. And this Chamberlain Avenue was originally constructed in 1902. And it ran about 1,000 feet, and then it was removed in the 1930s and pretty much stayed that way until 2013, around March and April, when it was reconstructed and paved. We did talk about at one time, and the avenue pretty much goes just on the outskirt of the 20th Maine's position here in line, and sits in between the northern position with the 20th Maine here, and then on the other side the Confederate advance from the Alabama troops under Oates. We also talked about this particular boulder, which at one time was to have a statue of Colonel Chamberlain on it, and we still call this the Chamberlain Rock today. However, since Chamberlain was against the idea, it never happened, and that's one of the secrets here of the battlefield. It's often been debated over time whether this avenue should be here or not. It wasn't here during the battle, and it did alter the land when it was constructed in 1902, and for that reason it was removed, and it was originally built for early visitors, including the veterans themselves, to be able to come with their horses, horse-drawn carriages, and then later the earliest forms of automobiles, and be able to drive around the area where the 20th Maine fought. It was taken up, and then of course here for the 150th, and probably most likely due to the fact that the ground had already been altered anyway, it was rebuilt back, and today is a fairly decent walking trail here for people who walk or walk their pets. This is Little Round Top, Part 9, Chamberlain Avenue on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. Okay, this is going to be Little Round Top, Part 10 here on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook, and we're standing here at the monument to the 20th Maine Volunteers, who were led here by Colonel Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain here on July 2nd, 1863. I've already done a video on the actions of the 20th Maine, so I'm going to refer back to that video and repost the video here in between Parts 10 and Part 11. But this is between the walking trail that comes down to the 20th Maine from Vincent Spur, and on the other side, of course, is Chamberlain Avenue, which we showed you in Part 9. This is probably one of the most recognizable regiments that fought here at Gettysburg. Of course, members of Vincent's Brigade, which we looked at the brigade marker earlier on our tour of Little Round Top. This has been the 20th Maine Monument here on our series Little Round Top Part 10 on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. Here on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook, and we are just to the left of the 20th Maine Monument, which is over here in the distance. A couple hundred yards to the left is the left flank marker of the 20th Maine, and then to its left over here is the Oates Boulder, which we talked about both of these on the video to the 20th Maine that was dedicated to the 20th Maine. So I'm not going to go over that information. If you want to go back and watch that to see what significance they hold in this secret here, this boulder, please go back and watch that 17-minute video. One thing I didn't point out in the video that I wanted to mention here is there was a second boulder that Colonel Oates remembered nearby the boulder where his brother was killed. And that boulder was once right over here, just before you see Chamberlain Avenue in the distance. It sat here and was probably removed and destroyed by the War Department when they were building Chamberlain Avenue and Sykes Avenue. Most likely Chamberlain Avenue. The roadbed was built in 1902, and that appears around the time that the boulder was destroyed. And that's one of those secrets of the battlefield and the obliteration of the battlefield that happened here in Gettysburg. Of course, again, as in the video, the 20th Maine at Gettysburg, we talk about their left flank, and of course the Oates boulder, where Oates was killed here on July 2nd. The brother of Oates, rather, was killed here on July 2nd of 1863, and you can go back and watch that video for that information. This has been Little Round Top Part 11 on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. Round Top series is going to be on the position of the 20th Maine in a stone wall that marks the position of Company B, 20th Maine, here on July 2nd of 1863. And it's the stone wall we're looking at here. Behind this stone wall, 43 men of Company B of the 20th Maine and a few from the 2nd United States sharpshooters were behind this wall the whole time that Colonel Chamberlain and the 15th Alabama were fighting, just in the distance up here where you see the 20th Maine Monument, and then where we took our last video over here by the ledge of rocks. Chamberlain had dispatched Company B under a man named Captain Walter Morrill to watch out for a flank maneuver. He was basically being used for his eyes to spot a flanking maneuver and then report it to Colonel Chamberlain. Now the men waited behind this wall, and just at the right moment, after the 20th Maine began its bayonet charge down the hill, while the 15th Alabama was retreating, Company B and the sharpshooters rose up from behind this wall and delivered an unexpected fire, throwing the Southerners into confusion, thinking that they had been surrounded. Of course, the 20th Maine was over here. They have them wheeling in the position in this way, so they actually think there's men on the far end, and then of course behind them, thinking they're surrounded 3 or 4 sides. They have no choice except to retreat through the little gap which we are looking at now. Now the stone wall itself has been here prior to the Battle of Gettysburg and was actually a property martyr. Anything that's beyond this wall at the time of the battle in 1863 was open fields. So Little Round Top is still far overgrown today, not the way it looked in 1863. And of course there is a marker that is not visited very much. It sits over here and says, position of Company B, 20th Maine Volunteers, Captain Walter G. Morrill, detached as skirmishers attacking the enemy's right flank on the afternoon of July 2nd, 1863. And for the whole story with this action with Company B and how they play in the part with the 20th Maine, go back and watch my video, 20th Maine's fight at Little Round Top. This has been Little Round Top Part 13 on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. Little Round Top tour is here at the 83rd Pennsylvania Monument. The 83rd Pennsylvania, of course, was in the 3rd Brigade, 1st Division of the 5th Corps. And they fought here on July 2nd, 1863, as they repulsed the attacks of the 4th and the 47th Alabama Regiments, here where their monument sits today. Now, they were in a very secure position on the left center of the brigade. In 1861, they were called into service, and they were called the 83rd Pennsylvania. Now, here at Gettysburg, they were out without any field officer, and they were under the command of Captain Orpheus S. Woodward. Of course, Woodward and the 83rd Pennsylvania did their duty here on July 2nd, 1863, as they fought against various Confederate assaults, took prisoners, and captured weapons. Now, this slope of this hill, which is very rocky, as you can see, was a very bad scene here on July 2nd, 1863. One of the captains, named Amos Judson, wrote, "I counted several days afterwards over 40 dead bodies within a 50 feet circumference of where we fought. They laid in every conceivable position amongst the rocks, in that low, swampy ground, crouched behind rocks and about the fire, some laying upon their faces, and some of them stretched out." Again, this slope of Little Round Top was a very deadly area. Their corpses laid out like a funeral, as if they had determined to observe the propriety of attitude, even in the hour and article of death. Now, the monument itself was dedicated on September 11th, 1889, and the main orator of the day was Lieutenant Oliver Wilcox Norton. And for those of you that have heard that name somewhere before, it was Norton that wrote the book, the very popular book, The Attack and Defense of Little Round Top. Now, the Strong Vincent sits here on top of the monument as he stood here in 1863. One difference about the ground today is the wooded area around you was a lot thinner during the battle, as we've seen in our last two videos. But anyway, this has been Little Round Top Part 14 on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. And I'm standing here with Stan Domach. I just met him here on Little Round Top. And Stan is an eyewitness to a very historic event here. And a couple minutes, I want him to tell you all what he experienced when he was here. And he's the only person I've ever met that was here for the dedication of the Eternal Light Peace Memorial by Franklin Delano Roosevelt on July 4th, 1938. Stan, why don't you tell us your reminiscences about that day?
Well, my father, we lived in a little town upstate New York, not far from Binghamton, and he decided I should see Franklin Roosevelt. So we got in the car and we drove down here. Stayed at night before someplace near Harvard. There were no motels in those days. Stayed in guest houses. And mob, and we were staying. If you're staying at the Peace Monument and looking down, we were on the right side of the crowd, in the middle of the crowd, on the right side. I could just about see him and hear him. He had a big microphone set up, and he made this speech and talked a little about the battlefield, a little about Lincoln, and I really remember what.
How was it seeing the veterans with the average age of 96 standing there?
They were, well, most of them were up on the Peace Monument. They were, a lot of them were sitting on those steps on the Peace Monument. I never met any one of them. I never saw the battlefield. My father had nothing to do with the Battle of Gettysburg. He brought me here just to see Roosevelt.
He brought you here to see Roosevelt.
Yeah.
You were a 9-year-old boy.
9 years old.
A 9-year-old boy.
9 years old.
And that was on July 4th, 1938.
1938, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was 9. It was fascinating. I became interested in the Civil War in Gettysburg in later that year when that veteran died who lives across the street and ended up buying his books, and they were those great Civil War books, and I started to read them.
And you've been visiting Gettysburg ever since?
Well, Gettysburg College runs a Civil War Institute. This June will be the 32nd year, and I've been coming every year since the beginning. Also, this past day, Harold Holzer and Frank Williams started a Lincoln Forum held at Gettysburg every year. This was the 12th year I've been to all of them. So I come here every year, at least for those two. And when I was a little bit younger, I used to take customers. I used to give tours around the Gettysburg. Like every customer who I kept when I cut back, all of them have been here at least once.
And tell me a little bit about your descendant who fought here on July 2nd, 1863.
My great-grandfather and his brother, who great-uncle, they were living in Baltimore when the war started. And they both decided they were Southerners because they originally came from Charleston, South Carolina. And they started to walk south. They got into Virginia. As you know, Baltimore, you're in Virginia. You could walk in Virginia 2 days, day and a half. And the first regiment they came across was the 4th Alabama. And so they joined. And they fought here, right there. My great-uncle was killed in Petersburg. My great-grandfather fought, he surrendered at Appomattox.
And of course, here on July 2nd, the 4th Alabama,
Right down the road, right down there.
just
A
over
little ways
here
down.
on Little Round Top, and they slammed into the 16th Michigan and the 44th New York.
And my great-grandmother, who was about 20 years younger than him, lived into 1966. She was 106. And she always said, Pop. She called him Pop. I never met him. He died in 1915, I think he died. But she always said this story about Little Round Top. We should have taken that damn hill, but the goddamn Yankee was too many of them up there.
Okay, well, Stan, and you're also a Korean War veteran,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And I want to thank you for your service to our country.
I was in the 7th Division,
7th Division.
32nd Infantry Regiment.
Excellent.
1st Battalion. But you never forget that.
And I myself, I served with the 550th Company B, 96 Romeo Military Intelligence
Oh,
in the Army
you're
Reserves.
one of those wise guys.
We went in front of the front line, told you guys what would hit you.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is Frank again from Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook, and I'm here bringing more history to you today as I'm doing a series of videos on Little Round Top. And I just happened, as I always do, just to rump into the right people at the right time, and I bumped
I
into
couldn't
Stan.
understand when I stopped you. I said to you, aren't you cold as hell? You got just a T-shirt on. I'm bundled up like hell here. That's
And it,
why
and it ended up we both from New York, and I just happened to be a little younger than you, so the cold didn't bother me as much.
I said, I saw you walking down. I said, that guy's going to be a moron. He's going to get a T-shirt on.
So again, Stan, thanks for your reminiscence, and you are the only person I've ever met to this date that is a living eyewitness to the Eternal Light Peace
Yeah,
Memorial.
I was there.
And, unfortunately for us, a lot of those men and women that were there that day are no longer with us. So this is a real pleasure, and I'm sure our fans will enjoy your reminiscences as well.
Say
So
something else. You know the left flank marker, the 20th Maine?
yes.
That's a new marker. We just put up about 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
The marker had disappeared years ago. Well, I was here in, see, Jill is 60, she was 6, so it was about 50 some odd years ago. The old trolley, well, as you know, this ditch here was a trolley, was dug out to put a trolley in.
Yeah.
It went around, okay. I saw that thing laying on the bank. That was, about 55, 54 years ago. And I know Scott Hartwick very well. He's one of the historians here. So I mentioned to him one time, I said, I know I saw the marker just laying on the bank, laying down like that. So I took him out and showed him where I saw it. He said, good. I'm having one neighbor go put one up there. But he didn't put it quite in the same place. It actually was about maybe 15 feet further out.
Okay.
Where I saw it.
15 feet further to the left.
A little further away.
Well, excellent.
Yeah.
Well, again, Stan, thanks for your reminiscence, and I appreciate your service to our country.
Well, I
and
thank you.
and I hope you have a blessed life and enjoy the rest of your week
I'm
here.
85. What the hell you want? Yeah,
Take,
how much longer I'm going to be around?
all right. Okay, this is going to be Little Round Top Part 15 and also Secrets of the Battlefield. And as we look here at the 83rd Pennsylvania Strong Vincent Monument, and we turn here, we're going to start walking in the distance, and we're going to soon come upon a stone wall. As we get to the stone wall here, in this wooded area, and if you stay and look here at the stone wall, in the front of us, you're going to see a marker sticking out of the ground, or what used to be a marker right here. And this is actually one of the posts that once held the plaque for the 22nd Massachusetts Regiment. Now, this regiment was under the command of Colonel William S. Tilton, who were in the wheat field. And we've looked at the 22nd Massachusetts Monument over there before. They fought over there on July 2nd, and on July 3rd, they were moved here to this position. And at one time, there used to be a plaque that marked the July 3rd position of the 22nd Massachusetts, which stood here. And And this of course was vandalized or broken at some point, and later lost. But this is one of those things that people really don't notice too well. There is another regiment, if you go up here further, which was the 18th Massachusetts Regiment. And the 18th Massachusetts also at one time had a plaque. And that plaque was up here where this other post is. So for those who have wandered on the field and wondered what these missing posts are, they are for the 18th and 22nd Massachusetts Regiments under Colonel William Tilton, who fought in the wheat field on July 2nd and then were moved over here on July 3rd, 1863. And these are what's left of the original markers that once stood here. So this has been Little Round Top, Part 15, Secrets of the Battlefield, the broken post of the 18th and 22nd Massachusetts Regiments here on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook Round Top series. And we're here looking at a marker that says Strong Vincent, General Strong Vincent, wounded July 2nd, died July 7th, 1863. And we've already done a video on the field hospital where he died, so you want to go back and review that video. However, there is a contradiction, because just on the other side of the 44th New York castle up here, there's a rock that has inscribed in it that it was the spot where he was wounded and died. And of course, here's the contradiction. Now, my theory is, while fighting on top of the hill on July 2nd, he was mortally struck just on the other side of that castle where the carving was. Those carvings are old. They go back to probably still in 1863. And then he was moved over here to this position, and this rock was noticed by someone. Of course, later a marker was put in here. And then from this spot, he was taken to the field hospital in which he died. And later on our tour, we'll look at the rock carving on top of Little Round Top that also basically says the same thing as this marker. This has been Little Round Top, Part 16, the spot of General Strong Vincent's wounding on July 2nd, 1863. Looking at the monument that is dedicated to the 44th New York, as well as some members of the 12th New York. They were here between the 83rd Pennsylvania, which is in this direction, and of course the 16th Michigan, where we just came from. Here on July 2nd, 1863, the 44th New York, as well as two companies from the 12th New York, serving in the 5th Corps. Now, the 44th New York was organized in Albany, New York in 1861. Its Colonel, James Rice, was still in command as the regiment fought here on the slopes of Little Round Top. Just as the 16th Michigan was being flanked by the 4th Texas, they were on the right flank, and there were no other troops in the valley, as we talked about. The federal troops needed reinforcements, or they would have to abandon Little Round Top and then open up the rear of the army to the Southerners. Reinforcements did arrive in the form of General Stephen Weed's brigades, 4 regiments, 2 from New York and 2 from Pennsylvania. Now, this monument stands 44 feet tall, meaning 44th New York, by 12 feet deep, meaning 12th New York, or some of the companies from the 12th New York, rather. It's one of the largest, actually the largest regimental monument here on the Gettysburg Battlefield. It was dedicated in July of 1893 at a cost of $11,000. And we did a video from on top of the castle, which you'll want to go back and review. This has been the 44th and 12th New York here on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook, Little Round Top, Part 17. 16th Michigan, this regiment was organized in Detroit in 1861. It consisted of 263 men who were present here at the Battle of Gettysburg. And they sat here on the western face of Little Round Top and repulsed the position of the Confederate attack from the west. Now, at the time of the battle, there were no Union regiments between this monument and Devil's Den when the Confederate attack came up. Now, the monument itself was dedicated on June the 12th, 1889, and there were 30 men present at its dedication. This monument was placed here in tribute to those men from Detroit who fought so gallantly here on July 2nd, 1863. The 16th Michigan was placed in this position on July 2nd, right around the same time that General Strong Vincent was wounded just to the left side of the castle where the rock carving is today. This has been Little Round Top, Part 17 on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. And just to the left of the monument, on this stone at the top, is a rock carving where Colonel Strong Vincent fell commanding the 3rd Brigade, 1st Division of the 5th Corps on July 2nd, 1863. A couple videos back we talked about a marker that basically said the same thing. This rock carving is one of the oldest on the Gettysburg Battlefield, and it was carved not too long after the battle. Whether each spot is the right spot, no one may ever know, but as far as the battle is concerned, it was Vincent who was attempting to get the 16th Michigan and rally them on the slopes of Little Round Top. So in position with the 16th Michigan, this would be a better position for Vincent to have been where he may have been mortally wounded than down the hill on the other side to the left over by the 83rd Pennsylvania. So again, as I stated in an earlier video, it is probably most likely that Strong Vincent fell mortally wounded right here where this rock carving is today, and then he was taken from this spot over to the side of the hill in this direction, and just over over these rocks over here, his wounded body was taken, and then it was seriously seen that he needed medical care, and there he was taken to a field hospital where he died on July 7th, 1863. And just before dying, he was promoted to general, so which he may have never known. This has been Little Round Top, Part 18, and Secrets of the Battlefield, the rock carving here next to the 44th New York Castle on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. And we're looking at the battery for Lieutenant Charles E. Hazlett, Battery D, 5th United States Artillery, which occupied this position here on July 2nd, 1863. There were no roads on the hill in 1863, and this was not really a good position. It was subject to sharpshooters from the Confederates that were advancing upon the hill. This spot also was where the 91st Pennsylvania fought, and their monument today says, erected by the 91st Pennsylvania in memory of General Weed, 3rd Brigade, 2nd Division, 5th Army Corps, and Lieutenant Charles E. Hazlett, who fell on this spot July 2nd, 1863. Now, there is also a secret here of a rock carving that sits behind the 91st Pennsylvania. And what ended up happening here was that on July 2nd, 1863, Weed was shot right here where this rock carving was. As his friend Hazlett bent over him to get his last words, he was struck and mortally wounded as well. So here where the rock carving sits here behind the 91st Pennsylvania monument was, 2 men were mortally wounded and died from their wounds here sustained on July 2nd of 1863. The 91st Pennsylvania is one of those few regiments that has 2 monuments. We're looking at the back of one now and the front face of the 91st Pennsylvania monument, which was put up later on the western slope of Little Round Top. But again, this is the position of Lieutenant Charles E. Hazlett's 5th United States Artillery here on the western slope of Little Round Top. This is also the artillery pieces that when President Kennedy came to visit the battlefield that he stood in front of and a photograph was taken, which you can go back and watch our video series, John F. Kennedy's Visit to Gettysburg. This has been Little Round Top Part 19 on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. Here at the strange cropping of boulders called the Curious Rocks. They are a natural art form And they were probably used and occupied by members of the 146th New York and 91st Pennsylvania as they skirmished with Confederate troops here on the western face of Little Round Top on July 2nd, 1863. This has been Little Round Top, Part 20, The Curious Rocks, on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. Round Top, Part 21, and also Secrets of the Battlefield, the Old Sykes Avenue. And this 1897 photograph, you can see the right flank marker of the 146 New York Volunteers next to this boulder, and then you can see the Sykes Avenue, the old Sykes Avenue that goes right by the boulder and the monument. And if you look on the boulder, on the right side of the boulder, there's like a crack with a little piece. Today, this scene looks like this. This is the site of the old Sykes Avenue roadbed, which came up this way, as you've seen in the photograph. And that corner of the boulder is no longer there. It's actually missing. And if you look over here to the left flank marker here, or the right flank marker, you can see the piece that used to sit up here that's broken off. And it now sits on the ground next to the right flank marker. But Sykes Avenue, the original Sykes Avenue, used to come up here, and this is the old roadbed for it, and it wrapped around. This has been Little Round Top, Part 21, on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. 22, and today we're going to look at two regiments that defended this hill on July 2nd, 1863, and they're two Zouave regiments, and we did a little bit about them on our Little Round Top Zouave series. The first one is the 146th New York. Like the 91st Pennsylvania, the 146th New York Volunteers were late to Little Round Top and did not participate in any of the major fighting here. They spent time skirmishing with the enemy, and they also were protecting Hazlitt's guns, which are just behind the large boulders behind the monument. A lieutenant in the 146th New York said, "As the hill made an excellent outlook over the field of the third day's fight, General Meade and his staff, with the Signal Corps, were there all day, occupying a rocky pen directly in the line held by the 146th New York." Now, that rocky pen is probably the rocks that sit here behind this monument. The second Union regiment that we want to see today and talk about is the 155th Pennsylvania Volunteers. Also, a Zouave regiment from out in the area of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Now, it's no surprise that the last regiment of Weed's brigade only suffered 5.3% casualties, and that was the 155th Pennsylvania Volunteers. They also assisted in the protection of Hazlitt's guns as they were dragging those guns up the hill, and they took the position just to the right of the 146th New York. Now, though in 1863 these soldiers were not attired in their Zouave uniforms, when they dedicated their monument in September of 1886, originally it stood here just with the bottom half of the monument, as you see in my camera frame. Later on, a soldier dressed in the Zouave attire was placed at the top of the monument. This has been the 146th New York and the 155th Pennsylvania Zouave regiments defending Little Round Top, and also Little Round Top Part 22 on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. This is going to be Little Round Top Part 23 here on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. And we are here looking at the monument to Captain F.C. Gibbs Battery, 1st Ohio Light Artillery, their monument, which sits here on Gibbs Ledge, which is there by us on the camera. And this particular artillery battery on July 2nd was over on Wolf's Hills and briefly skirmished with the enemy before being moved over here to this position where the monument sits today and helped to repulse Longstreet's attack here on the right side, or the northern side, of Little Round Top on July 2nd, 1863. The 1st Ohio Light Battery had two 12-pound Napoleon cannons. They had to unhitch their horses and bring up the guns onto the hill by hand. They gained the position right here where the monument sits just in time to cover the retreat of the United States regular brigades of Colonel Hannibal Day and Sidney Burbank. The regulars had suffered heavily during the assault in the wheat field, and Gibbs' fire directed over their heads where it was a welcome sight to both Hannibal Day and Sidney Burbank's troops. After Day and Burbank's regulars retired, Little Round Top was in danger once again. Three Southern brigades were in position over here in the distance to ascend this hill right around dusk, when 5 regiments of Pennsylvania reserves charged down the slope into the disorganized rebel army. This last charge here on Little Round Top secured the hill for the Federal troops, and the hill was never assaulted again after dusk on July 2nd of 1863. When you come out here, if you do, it's a very rocky ground, and you can see the remnants of some of the old artillery pieces, as well as the stacked ammunition plates that used to sit here, which you don't see here on the Gettysburg National Military Park anymore. And also the monument here that was dedicated, originally when they were chiseling away at the boulder to place this monument, if you look around the base of the boulder, you can actually see some of the original chiseling marks. So this is a quite interesting spot to go. And of course, this again has been part 23 on our Little Round Top series here on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. Little Round Top. And we're leaving the Gibbs, Ohio Light Artillery. I also want to mention our series of videos that we did called the Gettysburg Electric Trolley, part 18 and 18A, also were filmed right over here in what we call the unknown railroad cut, which went right by in front of this Gibbs monument into the woods over there. But let's make our way over and talk about these two last regiments here. The 121st New York were a part of the 6th Corps, and they marched 38 miles from Manchester, Maryland to reach the battlefield. Therefore, most of these 6th Corps soldiers arrived too late to participate in the fighting on July 2nd. Now, the 121st New York was one of those units. They were positioned here after the heavy fighting was over in the sector, but they did provide some much-needed reinforcement strength, after the heavy fighting was over. The monument itself was dedicated on October the 10th, 1889. They were under the command of Colonel M. Roy Upton. They were the 2nd Brigade, 1st Division of the 6th Corps. And of course, they held the position from the evening of July 2nd until the close of battle on July 3rd. The other regiment was the 98th Pennsylvania, and they were one of the few 6th Corps regiments to have been here for the battle on July 2nd. They became detached from Nevin's brigade on the way to Little Round Top. And from this position where their monument sits today, just behind the Pennsylvania reserves, they charged into the Valley of Death, harassed by enemy snipers on Houck's Ridge here in the distance. And this is their monument here, which is one of just a few monuments on the Gettysburg Battlefield that actually have color in it. Much like the 93rd Pennsylvania and the 23rd Pennsylvania also, they have these blue 6th Corps 3rd Division blue tiles. And this monument's very similar to the 23rd Pennsylvania's out on Culp's Hill with the base and the tiling, except the 23rd Pennsylvania, of course, has a Zouave statue at the top. This has been Little Round Top Part 24 on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. 5, the final part here on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook, and also Secrets of the Battlefield. And I'm standing here, we just took our last video at the 121st and the 98th Monument, which was Part 24. This is the road that leads from Little Round Top, Sykes Avenue, and it leads right out here where it meets with the Wheatfield Road and Sedgwick Avenue, which is over here. If you look at the Sykes Avenue sign here, and you turn just a little bit to the left, you'll see these two National Park Service signs that say that it's closed for horse use, but foot traffic only. So with that in mind, we're going to take a look, and you're going to see a path, and this is actually a partially paved path, a secret path that leads back here. And what this is, at one time in 1884, the Gettysburg and Harrisburg Railroad completed a line called the Round Top Spur. And you can go back and watch our videos on the Round Top Spur of the Gettysburg-Harrisburg Railroad. And 13 acres of land were purchased for a park called Round Top Park. Now, the park itself boasted 2 wells, pumps, a pavilion, a kitchen, a tin-type studio, and other buildings. And also, it was a very beautiful setting of wildflowers. And I can think offhand of a place in Delaware that I know called Longwood Gardens. And if anybody's ever been to Longwood Gardens, this place was very similar to that. It was a lot of flowers and wildflowers that sat back in here. Now, Round Top Park quickly became a popular attraction with services from the Round Top Spur that led to it. However, it became so well attended that problems developed almost immediately within weeks of its opening. Damage, vandalism to the Gettysburg Park began to happen because of all the tourism coming here to this amusement park. This recreational park was such proximity to the hollow ground that after not too long, alcohol abuse, prostitution, and gambling were amongst many of the activities that were being performed here in this park. And here, right here on the spur of Little Round Top. This park did flourish for a few decades, but eventually the park was closed and the National Park Service took the ground, and it went back to the peaceful land that remains here today. Not much is left of the park, just a little bit of a pathway and a road. But this at one time was a hustling, bustling park for partying and ox roasting and drinking and gambling and prostitution and all different types of activities. And at one time, steam locomotives made their way right into these grounds here, as we talked about on the videos of the Gettysburg and Harrisburg Railroad Round Top Spur. This has been Little Round Top, Part 25, the end, here, and Secrets of the Battlefield, Round Top Park, on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. Okay, we are here on Little Round Top, and we are right standing near the Governor K. Warren statue, which is over here in the distance. And today we're going to look at a rock here that we call the Balancing Rock. And when you're standing at the Governor K. Warren and you go directly east, you'll see this rock formation over here. And the rock appears to rest on 2 other boulders. And it's one of the only boulders that if you climb, the rock moves. It kind of balances on the other stones. So now we're on top, and you can see it balances on the other 2 boulders and it moves. Therefore known as the Balancing Rock. This has been the Balancing Rock on Gettysburg Battlefield. Okay, we're here at the midpoint on Little Round Top, and I just wanted to do a real quick video on Zouaves. Especially the Zouaves here on Little Round Top. This is a hill that was defended on the front basically by a lot of Zouaves. The 155th Pennsylvania was a Zouave regiment. The 146th New York was a Zouave regiment, and of course the 44th New York was the Ellsworth Avenger Zouaves. There were several other Zouave regiments that fought here at Gettysburg, including the 114th Pennsylvania Collis Zouaves, in the distance over there at the Sheriffy Farm, and of course the 23rd Pennsylvania Birney Zouaves over on Culp's Hill. And I believe there was another New York regiment of Zouaves just down here in the valley. I can't remember. I think it was the 62nd New York Zouaves, Anderson Zouaves. So this whole area was very Zouave heavy. Zouaves were basically dressed in the French Algerian style uniforms, very flashy. It was something very popular and in style back in the 1860s. And it gave young boys who were 15, 16, 17 years old, it gave them a chance to be, I guess you could call them rock stars of the day. It was very easy for recruiters to say, hey, we're going to give you a bigger bounty, we're going to dress you in this real flashy uniform, girls are going to like you, and you're going to be famous, and all the hoopla. You'll get paid $14, $12, $10 a month, whatever their army wage was at the time. And it was a recruiting tool to have Zouave regiments. It boosted the morale of the soldier, and quite frankly scared the bejesus out of the opposing army. And now, of course, even with Confederates like the Louisiana Zouaves, when their reputation preceded them, Union soldiers seen them coming on and they were terrified, and this happened a lot here with Union Zouaves. So this has been a quick video on Zouaves at the Battle of Gettysburg, as well as the Zouaves of the 155th Pennsylvania, 146th New York, and 44th New York Ellsworth Avengers Defense of Little Round Top.